G'day MegaWhale team, welcome back to another video. The Bitcoin price continues to plummet toward the downside, now retesting a major point of support, that being the prior 2024 end of year level of support, a level of which we retested and managed to hold above for multiple months moving into the beginning of 2025. We can see the price is already showing some resilience at this level, as not only Bitcoin is now retesting a support, but we are seeing the total cryptocurrency market cap retest a major point of support just above 3 trillion, and the Bitcoin weekly chart testing the upper band of the Ichimoku cloud, the leading span A, and the midline of the Gaussian channel. Will Bitcoin continue lower, or are we going to see a bounce? How are the macro charts developing? Does this temporary support change anything, and will it give Bitcoin the strength it needs to see a proper reversal, or are we destined to continue lower? Some big questions today, and we have got the answers. Before we go ahead and get into it, make sure to smash that like button, hit that comment button, and subscribe to the channel. We post daily videos for Bitcoin focusing on the facts, the data, the technical, and the structural information. No hype, no BS, no emotion, just pure raw TA. And if that is the kind of content you are interested in, you can join us on Telegram. This is the first link down below. You'll get access to charts, updates, videos, educational posts, news events, and everything you need to stay in the loop of cryptocurrency with Bitcoin and the relevant economic news. Make sure to go ahead and join that. It is totally free for everyone. The first link down below. Let's go ahead and jump into the content. So as we can see, guys, Bitcoin is continuing this downtrend, breaking through that point of support at 100, now retesting another major support, which is sitting at around that 90 to 92,000 region. This point of support was in fact a pretty significant level back at the end of 2024. You can see here on the left hand side of the chart, we had around about a month and a half to 2 months of sideways consolidation here through middle November to around about early to mid Feb 2025. We held above this level. When we broke below that level, we saw a large correction toward the downside. At the time, that move just from the breakdown was around about 20%, taking us into the next high time frame level of support, which we know to be 74 to 76,000. Essentially, if Bitcoin is unable to bounce from here, and what we mean by bounce, we don't only mean just see a short-term bounce, but properly reverse from this point, it is highly likely upon the next breakdown of this level, we are going to see a similar move down as to what we saw here, which would take us into the $74,000 to $76,000 region. Now, that is, of course, is pretty bearish, and we'll be discussing that more in today's video. Alongside that, we are seeing the breakdown of the midline of the Gaussian channel, we know to be a temporary support, which lines up perfectly exactly where we are testing currently, a temporary support. And of course, we are cracking into that leading span A. The leading span A is going to be that thicker green line here on the Ichimoku cloud indicator. Again, we have not really broken into this level through the entirety of the bull run. You can see we have been above the leading span A essentially since all the way back in March 2023 when the macro uptrend started. And we've held above that level this entire time, finally now cracking back into it. So some major things to discuss. We'll also take a look at the total cryptocurrency market cap as we are now retesting what we expected to be the first target. You can see over here, we've retested our level. We told you about this weeks and weeks ago. We were expecting a continued correction into that point, which we have now seen basically to the dollar. So let's go ahead and start on the market data. 24-hour volume up 25%, 323 billion. Liquidation still up pretty high, nearly 800 million over here, 32% up for 24 hours, 46 million longs, 332 million short, 467 million longs. So we're seeing a little bit of give and take on both sides. So if we look at the short-term price action, we are seeing a little bit of chop. We're seeing these local bottoms print. We're seeing these rallies. These rallies are liquidating some later short positions, but they're not pushing up too much. We're still being absorbed. This buying pressure is still being absorbed. This selling pressure is still very, very strong, pushing the price back down into creating these new lower lows, again, printing potential local bottoms before you see that cycle continue. So we'll discuss that in today's short-term analysis. Moving over to the DXY still sitting green for the week, 4 days remaining, watching 100, not really too much to say. The only thing we are watching is, of course, the upcoming interest rate and inflation data. We know already that the Federal Reserve has been trying to boost the job market by dropping those interest rates, but they're trying to balance it so they don't do it too much, so inflation starts to rise. We also had the government shutdown, which means the Federal Reserve isn't really getting the data that they're looking for, so they can't really make too many educated decisions on what to do with interest rates. So in that light, the best decision is sometimes just to pause. So if we see interest rate pause and we see more uncertainty develop around that, that could act as a potential future catalyst for market corrections. On the flip side, if we see more certainty come through, that might result in bounces. Now, overarching narratives is we've had interest rate cuts. We haven't seen as many as we like. We're moving into a point of uncertainty now. This is kind of this rounding point where the narrative can begin to develop into a new narrative, which is kind of scary for the market sometimes, particularly when we've seen these aggressive macro uptrends develop under the assumption that interest rates will continue to drop, meaning if they don't, we will likely see the market react negatively. And this macro downtrend could just be getting started. So something to pay attention to. Other triggers could, of course, be geopolitical conflicts, everything happening with, potentially printing money happening again later 2026, moving into 2030. Of course, we have all the stuff happening with President Donald Trump, decreased trust in the financial system. So much stuff we can talk about. We're not going to get into in today's video. Today's video is not really about that, but there's a lot of catalysts that could develop over the coming months, potentially years, which could trigger different moves or explosive moves to the market. Let's move over to the S&P 500. We are seeing the breakdown of the 50 EMA. Very important. The first time we've broken down since back in April 2025. Again, this is essentially confirming that this is our top, our lower high. We are now in a downtrend. To put simply, we are expecting downward continuations now for the S&P while we remain under this downtrend diagonal trend line. Lowest potential target would be 6,250, meaning we'd expect some sort of chop and downward continuation into this level. This is the expectation. We will stay with that expectation until this trend line breaks. It is as simple as that. Let's go ahead and jump into Bitcoin's analysis. Before we do, go ahead and sign up to BitGet, BitUnix, and BingX. Exchange links are down below. You'll get a lifetime trading fee discount of 15% off all your trading fees. You'll support me making the content for you guys on a daily basis. And of course, we'll be trading on exchanges I personally use and I trust. Go ahead and check it out. We'll play an ad and we'll get right back in. If you are looking for a new exchange or just want to support the channel, sign up to BitUnix with the link down below. You'll get a lifetime trading fee discount of 15%, which can build up to 45% based on your trading volume, as well as access to a bonus reward center, and of course, all of the exclusive campaigns we run on this exchange. You'll also get access to BitUnix being a non-KYC exchange, meaning you can sign up from anywhere in the globe without regulations. And most importantly, I only promote exchanges I trust and I use. As you can see, I trade on BitUnix very regularly, being the highest VIP level with over $500 million in trading volume for the last 30 days. And lastly, if you were interested in signing up to our other two exchanges, BingX or BitGet, you can also do that via the links down below. You as well will get the 15% trading fee discount and everything else that comes with it. Go ahead and sign up. Thank you for supporting. Let's jump back in. Okay, legends, let's go ahead and get stuck back into it. I want to start on the total cryptocurrency market cap and the altcoin market, also taking a look at Bitcoin dominance, and then I want to jump over to Bitcoin, the macro, the short term, everything in between. So let's just take a look at the total cryptocurrency market cap. This is a fantastic chart. It really tells us the overall narrative for the cryptocurrency market alone. It tells us, is the cryptocurrency market bullish? Is the cryptocurrency market bearish on a broader spectrum, right? It tells us the broader directional trend. Now, when we're looking at this chart, we of course had printed our top all the way back over here with the deviation range set up. We had the local high, we had a breakout, and we had the price action not maintain above. We saw a large red candle printing a deviation setup. We had that with a bearish divergence, suggesting that was the top. Hence, we were expecting upon the open of the next candle, that green candle, we would see continuations into prior levels of support and resistance, and likely into sell side liquidity, which we have now retested. Now, that sell side liquidity level, if we just go ahead and extrapolate that backwards, we can see that lines up with this top here, which is a 2021 top for the total cryptocurrency market cap, a point at which we are now retesting. So it's very obvious to say we are now sitting at a major point of support, not only for the broader cryptocurrency market, but if we had to zoom in now into what this represents for Bitcoin as well, right? Bitcoin is at a point of support. So if we were going to see some sort of bounce develop, and it is normal to see bounces develop in macro downtrends, even if we're expecting, right? Even if we're expecting on the macro for Bitcoin to see continuations, you know, all the way lower, we're not just going to see the price move down. We are going to see bounces along the way, sideways consolidation, liquidity grabs toward the downside, liquidity grabs towards the upside. It's not a smooth road. Just as when you're looking at the macro uptrend, we don't just see green candles up, right? We have periods of expansion, periods of consolidation and corrections, periods of expansion, consolidations, corrections, etc., etc. So just as when you're seeing a macro downtrend, we're not just going to see red all the way down. Although the expectation is that we go lower on the macro, how that actually plays out is not just permanently down. We have periods where we see bounces in the price action. If we are going to see a bounce, this is probably the most likely point of which we are going to see one develop, because if we lose this point of support, we have seen what happened before. We are going to see a larger move into the next high time frame support, which is basically a whole 20% away for Bitcoin. To put that in perspective, Bitcoin has corrected around about 26% from the top already. That would take us to around a 41% correction from the top into that high time frame support. Furthermore, the breakdown at that level would result in the total cryptocurrency market cap breaking below the 2021 high, which would trigger an extended correction into the next point of support, which is sitting around that 200 moving average. So even a stronger correction. This move here would take Bitcoin to 74 to 76,000. So by touching this 200 moving average, this sell side liquidity 2.31 trillion, we would expect Bitcoin to be around 74 to 76,000 when that happens. So we are at a point of support. The potential for bounces begin to develop, and we need to be aware that bounces in downtrends do not mean the downtrend is over. They are natural and normal parts of market movements, okay? Everyone loves to get bearish on a red candle. Everyone loves to get bullish on a green candle, but the actual price of the asset is pretty much irrelevant to how the trend is developing and how the strength is developing. So let's move over to the altcoin market now. The altcoin market's an absolute mess. It's always been a mess. The most simple analysis we can give you, and the easiest way to explain this would be, we have a macro resistance. As you know, we turned bearish over here. The reason we turned bearish over here is simply because we did not have positive momentum. When we're looking for confirmed breakouts, we look for three things. We look for strength, structure, and trend. Strength is probably one of the most important ones in all of this. When we look at strength, we can use the RSI as a representation of momentum. Momentum is simply a suggestion of strength, and the momentum was downward sloping into resistance, and therefore the probabilities were not in favor of breakout. Hence we turned bearish, hence we expected corrections. So the opposite will be said. If we expected continuations upwards, we would expect this RSI to have to break to then turn bullish on the altcoin market. Now, whether that be in a year from now, and then we eventually break out over here, or whether that be sooner, whenever that breaks, we would likely see strong continuations upward for the altcoin market. We'll see rotations occur again. On the flip side, if we were to break this resistance, we would see more of a parabolic leg for the altcoin market. Not like we have seen in prior altcoin seasons, but we would still see a strong move for the altcoin market. Until then, the expectations, unfortunately, are towards the 200 moving average if we see these support levels broken for the broader markets. Let's quickly jump over to the 4-year cycle now. The 4-year cycle suggested the top was, of course, the 6th of October, 2025. This was proven by the 1064-day bar theory. All the mathematics was, of course, done on our channel to prove this. We projected this about 2 years in advance. The price has already dropped around 30% since then, so it was a top for Bitcoin. The question then becomes, will the 4-year cycle break? Because if we see a new top happen for Bitcoin prior to, okay, October 5th, 2026, right? If a new top happens before this date, this pattern, this 4-year cycle pattern we have breaks. It's over. It's finished. It's done. Okay, it invalidates. That changes the game a little bit for Bitcoin, especially when it comes to macro predictability based on historical trends. Will that happen? Will we break it? There's about a 30% chance that breaks based on the uncertainty developing around monetary policy and industry-specific inclusions in the traditional financial system, right? So there's about a 30% probability. Probabilities are still in favor that we'll see this play out to some extent. Will it play out to the fullest extent, which is the 5th of October 2026? Potentially. Will it play out to a large degree? I would say it's very likely to do that. It's already down 26% or so from the top, which is essentially a bear market. If we're looking at the traditional definition of what a bear market is a period of price action that favors short selling and the prices drop 20% or more from its prior high. Bitcoin's down 26%. It's been moving downwards for like 40 days. That is a bear market, essentially. So, taking a look at this, guys, if we were to see the bear market for the 4-year cycle based on what we've seen historically play out as expected, the price could go as low as around 36 to 52,000 within a reasonable estimate. Some people will say lower. I would like to remind you, people expected Bitcoin to go to $3,000 last cycle. It just was not theoretically possible. It's very unlikely we'll see that happen this cycle. It is very likely the bottom will be around that level, maybe a little lower, maybe a little higher. Let's go ahead and jump over to Bitcoin. So some major warning signs are popping up over here, but we are at a point of support. Like we said, we are retesting this level. And I do want to go ahead and emphasize this is a major point of support, right? We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 retests of this level over a 2 to 3 month period, all of which bounced. We are now retesting it again. If we break down, the expectation is we go lower. Simple as that. There's nothing more to say. We will see lower prices of Bitcoin. But until then, we are seeing some momentum curve over here with this downtrend on the RSI. We see momentum positive again. Green dot print. We could see a small bounce of Bitcoin. That bounce could theoretically take us as high as around 98,000, right? So if we see a bounce here, we'd expect around 98,000. At most, maybe around 100,000, which is this VRPV gap. It is highly unlikely Bitcoin goes any higher than that. So 98,000, at most around 100,000. I think if we were to see significant buying, break of structure 103,000, and that would be the bounce of Bitcoin until we then expect lower prices. If this level does break without a bounce, so then we just directly expect lower prices. Pay attention to that, guys. Let's go ahead to the weekly chart now. So we'll come back to the short term in a second. The weekly chart, we are seeing yet again another warning sign print. Now I just want to go over the warning signs we have seen print. On the weekly chart, we saw the breakdown of the 50 EMA, the Gaussian channel upper band, and the 45-point level on the RSI. Historically, this was a representation of momentum, directional momentum in the bull market. We have broken below that level, which is a negative momentum shift, suggesting the market is in favor of short selling and sellers are very much in control of the trend. If we take a look at the current market, we can see we have set above the 50 EMA the entire time. We have also now broken below the 50 EMA, further validating this was a top, and we are in a directional downtrend, which could continue lower. Lower targets, of course, lower band of the Gaussian channel, which is at $74,000 to $76,000 level, as we can see represented by sell side liquidity, and the lower band of the Gaussian channel. So very simple stuff there, guys, not looking fantastic. Yet another warning sign has printed. This is going to be the breakdown of the Ichimoku cloud. The leading span A, guys, the leading span A is broken down. This has happened for the first time, essentially, since we broke above the leading span A. Back over here, we'll draw a massive arrow to so you can see it. This is March 2023. We've sat above the leading span A the entire time. We are now potentially breaking below it. We do need to see the weekly candle close. That is in 6 days from now. In 6 days, we'll have confirmation of a breakdown. If we break down, it is highly likely we push to a lower band, the leading span at B, which is going to be around that 80 high $70,000, $80,000 level. Pay attention to that. On the 2-week chart, we have got 6 days remaining until our 2-week close. Of course, mean reversion theoretically could take us lower at the moment to the 50 EMA. That is still going to be a target. If we're taking a look at something on the 2 weeks, such as the bull market support band, we also have got our 6 days remaining until our 2-week close below the bull market support band. And you can see over here, guys, the RSI uptrend broke down. We'll draw it out. We broke down over here. What do we see? Macro downtrend. RSI uptrend broke down. What do we see? The macro downtrend. So signs are still pointing down for Bitcoin in the macro. Things are still looking very shaky, but we are coming into a very important point of support, as I mentioned. So expect a potential bounce to develop, but understand that the directional expectations are still downwards. Even if that happens, for the buyers to fully get back in control, we've already identified we need to see a structural shift in the trend itself. And the easiest way to identify a structural shift is going to be a break of a prior lower high, and that is going to be 108,000. So remaining below 108,000, it's not looking good for Bitcoin. In fact, if we were to make it really, really simple, make it really obvious on the chart over here. So let's take one of these rays, make it nice and green, make it thick. If we break above here, Bitcoin is going to look good again. The weekly charts, the 2-week charts are going to invalidate the bearish signals, and we will likely see another push toward the upside. We will go to an all-time high, no clue, but we'll see a push toward the upside. While we remain below here, we are still expecting lower prices, as we have essentially since the top. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Have a fantastic rest of your day. I hope to see you guys in our next video. We'll see you again on Thursday, so the day after tomorrow. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Enjoy tomorrow. We'll catch you on Thursday. See you then. Bye.